Welcome to the Dr. Mudgil podcast. This is episode 66. We're at the tail end of President's Week, and it was a fun little podcast that I'm going to share with you guys today. But, before I get into it, let me just share this week with you a bit. I had the pleasure of going out to Florida for a couple of days at the beginning of this week. My daughter, who is a competitive equestrian, was competing down there. We went down there with the fam to support her, and every time I'm in Florida, particularly in the winter months, not that it's been particularly cold here in New York, but it was just warm and sunny and just beautiful down in Florida. And I always ask myself, why do I live in New York? But we had a great week. We had a great couple of days down there. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is when we got back from Florida, we landed in LaGuardia Airport, and it was like just a dismal day. It was cold, and it was raining and sleeting. And, we had our bags. We were rolling out of the airport. We had 3 suitcases. It was my wife and I and my 2 boys. And when we were coming out of the airport, there was a security guy there, and he said, "Hey, is that your car?" We had someone was picking us up from the airport. It's like, "Yep, that's our car." He grabbed my suitcase, and he went to put it into the car. And I was thinking to myself, that's odd. I've never had a security guy do that before. But maybe he's wants to rush us in and out of here. It's a busy time of day. So I went to, pick up the next suitcase and put it in the car. And he said, no. He's like, I got it. He picked up the second suitcase. He picked up the third suitcase. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, that is just, I've never experienced that in 40 plus years flying out of a New York City airport. I mean, usually the security guards are just, in a horrible mood. They're just dealing with cars that are sitting there all day and not moving. And they're just, kind of angry getting the cars in and out of there, the Ubers, the regular drivers, navigating all this. There's tons of congestion in New York City airport. And I said to him, I was like, in my 40 plus years traveling in and out of New York City, I have never experienced someone, help me with my bags, put them in the car. And, he said to me, he's like, this is just what I do. I love my job. I've been doing this for 20 years. He's like, I'm from Barbados, and this is how we do it in Barbados. And, he was just such a warm, lovely guy. At first, to be honest with you, being the skeptical New Yorker that I am, I was like, is this guy trying to hustle me for a tip or something? I would have been happy to give him a tip. He was that amazing. But after talking to him for a few minutes, I realized that that's not what this was about at all. This was just a genuinely positive, kind, wonderful human being who is going above and beyond his call of duty and doing everything he possibly could to greet someone warmly when they came to New York, whether it be someone returning home like myself or someone who's visiting from another part of the country or maybe part of the world. And imagine that this is the guy that greets you when you come in from another country, say, or another state. And it was just so reassuring. And it had me thinking about the phrase, and I love this phrase, is the way you do anything is the way you do everything. Now, I love that phrase because, first of all, this wonderful human being reminded me of that. I'm sure this guy is he's the best security guy. I don't even know what the job title is, but he was security personnel at LaGuardia Airport. I wish I knew his name because this guy should get some kind of award for doing the best at his job ever. But I'm sure this particular gentleman is, he's the best at his job. I'm sure he's the best neighbor. This mindset that he has, probably infiltrates into how he interacts with everybody. I'm a total stranger to this guy. He's probably the best dad. He's probably just that brings that positivity and kindness, to everything that he does. And, the way he does anything is the way he does everything. And, it really kind of gets me back to thinking about, core values and how important core values are. So as I mentioned, I think an infinite number of times, my core values: care, compassion, integrity, attention to detail, and accountability. Those 4 things are what I define myself with, and those are 4 values that are very, very important to me. This particular gentleman probably guides his life with kindness, being helpful. I don't know what his exact core values are, but those are part of them, I'm sure. And I don't know if he's ever sat down and thought about what his core values are, but certainly he has a code which he uses to define his life. The way he does anything is the way he does everything. The way I do anything is the way I do everything. Now, that could be in a positive way, like this particular gentleman, which was an amazing reminder to myself that, how positivity can impact those around you and how being kind and helpful how it elevates everybody else. You know, like everyone levels up to that level of kindness. You know, you can't really be in a bad, crabby mood when, you know, this guy is going above and beyond and helping you out. You know, and if you are, it's immediately going to elevate you out of that negative space. You know, this guy's positivity was infectious. And, you know, that also works the other way. You know, like if you were just like a grumpy guy that were just like yelling and being negative, you know, of course that would influence me in a negative way, influence all of those folks around him in a negative way. You know, I've brought this example up a lot. You know, if you're attentive to detail in one aspect of your life, it's very unlikely that you're going to lack attention to detail in another aspect of your life. Like if you're super focused with like fitness and nutrition, I'm sure that discipline and focus spills over into your professional life, into other aspects of your personal life. Like this particular guy is probably like the best guy to work with. You know, he's probably remembers everyone's birthday and is always has a smile on his face. And, you know, if you have a bad day and you're coming into work, he cheers you up and makes you feel good about being there. You know, somewhere in his value set, you know, that positivity and infectious positive energy and spreading that, you know, positivity, it's in there somewhere. You know, like, again, I don't know if he specifically defined those things. You know, he quite possibly might have. But, you know, the way he does anything is the way he does everything. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is, one is, I think it's important for all of us to kind of think about what defines us, what core values really represent who we are. Because a couple of reasons. One, it keeps you sort of on track, right? Like, so, you know, like I said, care, compassion, integrity, accountability, attention to detail. Those are 4 values that are very important to me and what I try to bring to every aspect of my life. And if something goes wrong, it helps me troubleshoot it, right? So if something goes wrong, I say, you know what? That was an accountability issue. You know, I needed to just take a little bit more responsibility for that negative outcome or whatever happened. You know, it's helpful for keeping you on track. It's also helpful for troubleshooting when things go wrong. And the second part of it is, I just love that phrase, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. Because really, like, once you establish core values, you live your life by them, use it to troubleshoot any issues that you have, the way you do anything really becomes the way you do everything. You know, like for me, fitness, you know, I talk about this a lot in my book, you know, in more detail, and, you know, in other posts and podcasts that I've done. But, you know, fitness for me really helped me align my life, my goals, and, you know, really that attention to detail in my nutrition, weighing my food, getting my workouts in, all of that sort of stuff, that discipline that was required to say, no, hey, I don't want to do this tonight, or, you know, I'm not going to eat that tonight, or I'm not going to drink this tonight. You know, that discipline and, you know, the strong mindset that it took to execute the goal that I have, again, you know, sort of the foundation of all that was the core values that I established. It made me a better doctor, made me a better parent, made me a better husband, made me a better friend. You know, the way I do anything is the way I do everything. And I really learned a lot of that through my fitness transformation, the attention to detail that was required to have the transformation that I had. But it just made me a more productive and just better person, I feel like. And again, you know, this particular individual had such a positive impact on me that, you know, 3 days later, I'm talking about him. I'm still thinking about him because, you know, like it just made me just want to kind of get to know this guy better and just to learn like how he interacts with the rest of the world. So those are, you know, kind of, this is a long thoughts of the week, but, you know, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And it's really important, especially if you want to elevate yourself to achieve goals, to be the best version of yourself. It's important to have a foundation of core values that can help guide you and, you know, try to do anything you do in the best, most productive way possible, because that becomes the way you do everything. So those are my thoughts of the week. I hope you all have a wonderful, restful weekend. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Let's get it. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. The full video for this podcast can be found on either YouTube or Facebook. Let's get it.